I didn't even recognize the beat. The engineer sauced it up so much, bro. He put reverb on it, compression, put delay effects. I was like, bro, I've been doing this wrong the whole time.
We call ourselves CiiiTY, but we global. And everybody that has a voice is allowed to be vocal.
What's going on, everybody? CiiiTY Media, changing the youth media. I'm with my man, Stizzy Raxx. This podcast interview brought to you by Vibin. On my right is Palm Beach Connects. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, man. This is a very exciting interview for me. This is one of the more exciting ones, especially as someone that's been following your work and your influence in the city. First off, I just want to, let's just start off with the boring basics. You know, where you from and where'd you get the name Stizzy Raxx?
Yeah, so I'm actually from Orlando, Florida. I was born and raised there. I moved to West Palm in 2012. Really, I was overseas for a couple of years first. I ended up, when I was 18, I got a job as a contractor overseas. And it was really just, you know, the connection of my dad being in the government. Okay. During that time in my life, it was just a moral struggle. Right. Most of my homeboys were, you know, going to prison. A couple of my homeboys died in the streets, and, you know, Orlando just seemed to be a place where it was just sucking everyone in. And I was just presented the option to either stay and possibly die and go to prison or move overseas and make a difference. So I ended up taking the latter. And ever since then, I pretty much just been, you know, making different choices compared to what I used to make. I actually work for Microsoft. I'm a software engineer during the day, and then I got my studio going at night. And just, I think, really just being able to be technical on the computer and just being able to work with, I work for Microsoft 365, which is a business software. Mm-hmm. So I don't work with consumers. I only work with businesses. Mm-hmm. So just being exposed to different businesses over the year allowed me to make certain choices, like building a website, the marketing part of it, just articulating myself professionally in front of other professionals, investors. And I just learned a lot from that job about life lessons, how to be successful and be lucrative. The name Stizzy Raxx is kind of funny. I actually used to go by what they call Yama Boy. Way back in the day, I was like
That's
15.
Smooth. I rock with that though.
Yeah. And when I stepped out of music for a while, I just needed to like recalibrate. And I had a boy named Julio at the H. Yeah. And I met him through one of my other boys named Adrian. And he was like, listen, man, I heard you used to do music back in the day. I heard you was fire. I don't know if you're still doing it, but if you are, you know, I'm looking for a producer. I'm trying to get put on. And this is a couple of years ago. And I was like, all right, cool. And I ended up coming up with the name Stizzy Jones. I don't know where it came from. It was kind of like I was trying to like come up with like a heartbreak trap type sound. And I don't know if you've seen the movie Love Jones. And I was kind of like trying to like, you know, re-image that. But then Julio was like, nah, bruh, Stizzy Raxx. He's like, Raxx, bruh, that's that. He's like, that's gonna hit different. So it stuck. You know, and that was really how the name came about. You know, it just it kind of just flowed with the time. There's really no specific meaning behind those names, but you know, it just rolls off the tongue really, and you know, ended up just keeping it.
Yeah, man, you make it all sound so 1, 2, 3, man. Coming from where you coming from, like as you explained, and then it's just you're so technically savvy, and it's just my question would be, how did you gain all the knowledge that you did? You're sort of a renaissance man, and that you do so many things. Right. How did it all start out for you in becoming technically savvy like that?
Right. Well, when I was 15 years old, I ended up dropping out of high school, more or less kind of like getting kicked out. I was involved in some legal issues and got charged with robbery. And the school pretty much just said they didn't want me to be back around that way. So I ended up getting homeschooled. And during this process, I learned that there's two types of education. There's forced education, which is what they teach you in school. And then there's education of choice. And that's when you branch out and go find your own knowledge and research. And ever since I was 15 years old, ever since getting kicked out of school, I just took it upon myself to research as much information as possible. Like, I refused to be the statistic of this guy dropped out of high school and, you know, now his life, you know, turned to trash. Yeah. And that's just what the typical stereotype for a black man in America is. And I had those struggles that I still had a couple of things that I was dealing with during that time. I wasn't, fully reformed. I was still out here in Orlando doing things that I wasn't supposed, just shouldn't be doing. But during that time, I just took the opportunity to really learn up everything I could, absorb information. I learned a lot from Nipsey Hussle about advancement and ownership. Like, I think one thing to me personally is it's very important to listen to lyrics that people say in their music.
Yeah.
And Nipsey always, he was always encouraging and endorsing ownership. I remember Rick Ross offered him a deal and he was like, nah, if I'm not a partner in that, I don't want it. And that made me really think about just, how to approach everything in life, not just music, just, having ownership and, just paying taxes. That's a huge part. Paying taxes is a big thing for me. And I had to take some time to learn how to deal with that. But just acquiring this knowledge, and I think the most humbling part about this whole experience was realizing how little I really knew. There was like so much going on in the world, and I thought I had a grip on everything. But like, I think the most like effective time in a person's life is when they can step back and say, look, I don't really know much about this. Let me take the time to inform myself and educate myself on these certain things. And a lot of this process was just education. It was just learning and just being able to adhere to constructive criticism. A lot of people, you tell them, look, I think you could do this better, and they take it as an attack.
Yeah, you're a hater.
But I took that as an opportunity to say, man, I can make myself better doing this by listening to people in the game that have been doing it. So it really just came from just a lot of like trial and error.
Yeah.
Just failing at life, and then just realizing, you fail once, you should never fail the same time.
The same way.
Exactly, ever again. It should be like an excuse to win.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it all came from, just learning.
Yeah.
Taking a failure and turning it into a positive,
Yeah, and you mentioned what you mentioned earlier with getting kicked out of school. Like, that's like writing your own story.
Right.
And not allowing other people to co-author in your life.
Right.
You're a big inspiration, man, and you mentioned Julio with the H. He's one of the people, many people just speak so highly of you, and I feel like when people get in contact with you, they can take away from a lot of things, and then you help the people around you grow too. Like, who do you think was that influence for you? Because a lot of this, as you said, was trial and error. Was there that one particular person that was giving you this constructive criticism and stuff like that?
Honestly, to be honest with you, most of the constructive criticism that I've ever really adhered to is from the Bible. A lot of people that I run into, I ask them all the time, like, you believe in the story of Jesus Christ? And they be like, yeah, I don't think I've actually met one person that hasn't. I'm sure there are people that I've talked to that just didn't want to tell me because, belief is a very touchy subject, but a lot of what I learned about myself, I read from the Bible. It's like we see things in other people that we don't like, and we carry those same traits. So being able to just reflect and self-realize is like, wow, that was a big thing for me. Was just really taking the gospel and just incorporating it into my daily life. I usually always say to people, I'm like, a lot of people tell me, they can't even like, bro, like, what do you know about God? I'm like, I just tell them, bro, how much research have you spent on the topic? Most people will sit here and research music for days. They got every single music media stream. They could tell you what artist is popping, this, that, and the third. And it's like, you mentioned God to them boys. They're like, yeah, I know about him, but that's about as far as it ends. Like, I ask people all the time, have you ever actually taken time to read some of the literature in Proverbs, in Romans? And it's like a lot of the problems that we dealing with in life today, it comes back to the Bible. It comes back to just being selfish, the greed that's taking over the world. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing I really want people to take away from me is that, we're all like, I look at it like this because I'm technical with Microsoft and all that. I would say we all subfolders in the same inbox. You know what I mean? And we spent so much time dividing each other and encouraging separation and division that we don't even get to see that. We don't even realize how,
unified.
Exactly. And that's another thing. Like, I really try to, encourage a lot of my artists not to, encourage things like violence and the murder and the selling drugs and the guns, because there's so much other stuff you could talk about.
Yeah.
You know, look at J. Cole, for example, or Kendrick. They'll talk about it, but in a way where it's like action and consequence.
Right.
Like, homie got you hot, you got shot, now you cold as ice.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And it's like cause and effect. And I think that's another thing, like, really that people could take away from is just being able to understand that there's a message in the music that you deliver.
Yeah.
And if someone listens to your music and gets like, I'm about to go kill this dude, and I'm listening to this, you know, whatever it is, you're not encouraging positivity in the environment. And that's just one thing. I don't want people to hear my music. I always say it like this, like, if you had 5 minutes in a room with someone right before they were about to die, what would you tell them? You know, and a lot of my fans, a lot of people that I know, I mean that hear my music, I'll never meet them. Exactly. And it's like, I have 5 minutes in a room to tell them a story. Mm-hmm. If they listen to one of my songs, what kind of story am I telling them? I don't want to waste their 5 minutes, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I think substance is crucial nowadays. That, you know, it's a missing key element to music that we need to just find a way to get back to that. That's
a very powerful take on your job as an artist. And I think very few artists look at it as a job and a responsibility. Mm-hmm. Because you have the most influence. I don't think kids are listening to their teachers and their parents more than they're listening to their favorite artists.
That's right.
You know, so it's a very powerful stage to hold. In your various success, because you've had success as an app developer, mm-hmm. As a producer, what are you most recognized for?
Honestly, just from the perspective of being able to say how people found out about me, I would say the app. I remember one day I built the app from Microsoft. It was just like a common task guide, how to like use 365. Mm. Just working there for 5 years, I seen the same questions get asked over and over again. So I just decided to compile it in the app and just allow users to get that experience without having to call in and waste resources for the same thing that, everyone's having. So I ended up taking the app down because Microsoft, they like to update their portals and stuff a lot. So I kind of like fell behind because I had other stuff going on. But I would say like my followers, a lot of them came from the app development. I won't say a lot, like most of them now, like they're coming from music, but it started off, I remember I had like maybe 1,000 something followers. And then one day it just went up to like 1,200 and 1,500 and 1,900. And a lot of people started DMing me about this app. And they're saying, yo, bro, I use this app and it helped me figure out how to use. And that was like a claim to fame in like the tech industry. A lot of people knew me on the tech stuff, but then, dealing with Julio and getting into the music, a lot of my followers started coming from like Spotify and other things. Cause one of my songs got picked up, it was called Angels and Demons. Yeah. And they put it on an editorial playlist and they got like 80,000 streams in the first week. I ended up seeing a bunch of new followers on Spotify, on IG because of that one song. And now every time I release a new project, it usually gets picked up by a big playlist. Yeah. So I'm seeing a lot of those followers come in now. But really and truly, man, honestly, the app's what started me out. But the music, the lyrics and the content in the music is what people are hitting me up about now.
Right. Yeah, I think I remember that song. That's the choral
exactly.
Angels and Demons. Your music is very good. I'm not gonna act like I started listening to you like this week, going through your albums and stuff because I recognize you more as a producer,
right,
and an app developer. But the music is insane, and you speak on Kendrick and J. Cole and those minds. You make the sort of music that has the same substance and the storytelling. Mm-hmm. Obviously not the exact same substance, mm-hmm. but people can get those vibes out of it. Were those, who were your influences in making music like that?
Yeah, I'm gonna be our first person was Nipsey. Like a lot of people, Nipsey got a lot of unreleased projects that people haven't heard, and a lot of his music is storytelling. Yeah, a lot of his music is about like just being able to grind and make it through. Remember one bar he said was like, wiggle through the prison and the grave sites, then you finally get it and you take flight. It's just like a struggle. It's an ongoing battle of trying to find your place in America as a black man. You know what I mean? And I don't want to put race into it, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these kids, they got their life figured out. Like, you're going to go to school and become an engineer. You're going to go to school and become a lawyer. And they have that financial backing and that support behind them. You know, but for the kid that comes from a broken home and, you know, doesn't have that, it's like, where do I go? And he's looking for resources. And all he hears in his, you know, every day is, you know, rob this, kill this, smoke, drink. And it's like, what do you expect, you know, your life to turn out to? And it's like, man, there's other ways around it. Yeah. And it's like, that was the thing. I think Kendrick was a huge impact too. Before he started, like, you know, going mainstream, like the Section 80 was ridiculous. Yeah. J. Cole always got, you know, substance. I think Nas and Styles P when I was younger. Yeah. Them boys tell stories, man. And it just was something different when I heard their music. I was looking for a story. And those really were the, you know, Nipsey, Kendrick, J. Cole, Nas, Cassidy. Yeah. You know, and just having that, like, just that extra sound. I was like, wow, these boys putting bars together, bar after bar, and they all tied to the last bar. And it's like, this is music, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's because I remember, like, I think Kendrick Lamar is also one of my favorite artists. And every time he drops a project, it's like reading a book, you know. It's like a new book coming out and stuff like that. So it's music. It's that timeless music we speak about, you know. But your new tape, you had a recent tape. It's called
Sloppily Put Together Tape.
Sloppily Put Together Tape is the name of that tape. You have some songs on there that I enjoy very much. And interesting, you bring up Nipsey today. I think you mentioned him in one of those songs too. You were talking about. What made you come out with this album? How it is, Sloppily Put Together Tape, and the title of it and the organization of it.
Yeah. So man, I tell you, man, I wasn't even gonna drop it. I was just like kind of like got into being a producer and an engineer and just making things work off that. But there's this dude T Free. I don't know if you know T Free Sway.
Yeah, I know.
Man, this dude would call me every month and be like, bro, when's the tape dropping? When's the tape? He's like, bro, they need this. The streets needs. And I was like, and he just kept pressing it. Like, he kept pressing. Then he sent me like a song I did or something and like a video. And I was like, all right, man, I'm gonna make it because you like are really pressing this. And he's like, nah, bro, like people need to hear.
So what, he heard it before?
Yeah, he heard some of the songs and most of the songs that he was expecting to be on there, not on there. You know, it just didn't fit the, you know, what I was going for.
It's no features either. You dropped that tape, no feature.
Yeah, I didn't put any features on that one. I don't know, man. That wasn't really planned. It just ended up working out that way. I had a bunch of like unreleased songs, and I just went through kind of like what I thought was the most relevant at the time, and just put them together. And that's why I call it a sloppily put together tape, because the way I had anticipated making this, you know, the actual tape that was constructed a certain way was the whole thing. It's like people don't like reading anymore. It's just like it's very hard to see somebody open a book and read it from cover to cover. Yeah. So I figure like you can learn something from music. A lot of people will listen to a whole album straight, you know, but might not get through the first chapter of a book. So I was trying to make it in a book format where each song was a chapter, like table of contents, introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2. But that's coming on the next tape. And that's why since I didn't do it on this one, I was like, this is a sloppily put together tape. I had just like put a whole bunch of stuff.
And the cover art to it, do you actually draw and paint and stuff like that? Yeah, man. What don't you do? You figured that part out?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I can't play basketball. You feel me? Okay. But I just think like, I don't know, man. If I'm gonna spend time investing my resources into something, I figure I might as well learn as much about it as I can. Yeah. You know, knowledge is endless. You'll never know everything. You know, and that's the thing, is like you got to continue to keep like, I hear people say certain things about something. I'm like, yeah, you just didn't research it. You think you know because you get these preconceived notions of other people saying, oh, this is this or this is that, and it's like, yeah, but I can tell you didn't research it. You know, it's like somebody saying, do you know what Forex is? And they're like, yeah. What pairs are you looking at? They're like, pairs, and it's like, you don't know what Forex is. Like you heard it.
Know of it
exactly. And it's like, I think like, you know, that's a dangerous game to play, man. You know, going around, you know, trying to put yourself in situations that you really don't know much about. And that's the thing. I think a lot of people are so ready to just rush into a new situation because it seems convenient at the time. But it's like not everyone can do everything. And that's something I had to accept. Like, I got a cameraman. I can't stand in front of the camera and film myself at the same time. Like, you're gonna need a team.
Yeah.
And as long as you can, you know, just realize what you're good at and what you're not good at, you can formulate a pretty solid foundation.
Mm-hmm. And then there are people that fall under the predicament of being good at a lot of things,
right?
But not being a master at, you know, many of those things. Did you ever battle with which lane to focus in and which way to go?
Oh man, the process was crazy. I remember when I first started mixing, Julio was like, "Nah, bruh, that's not good." And like, you need those homeboys to tell you that's not good, cause you got them yes men you bring in the studio that's telling you everything sound good, and you drop and no one's listening. It's like them boys did you a disservice.
Yeah.
So it was like when I first started like messing with Logic and was like, "Yo, how this sound?" He was like, "It's just not crisp." That's all. I always remember him saying, "It's just not crisp."
I can just hear Julio saying that, which is why it's funny.
And it used to piss me off, man. I used to be like, "Damn, bro, I've been working at this for hours. I skipped sleep last night on it. Like, I put this app together. Like, I can't mix."
Yeah.
So it was just like, man, just started playing around and stuff, and just like having that homeboy. He was the one I'd call and be like, send him a 3 a.m. track and was like, "Bro, how does it sound?" And I'll never forget, man. There was one song I made. I ended up, you know, DaniLeigh, right? Mm-hmm. So her brother, I went to school with them in Orlando, and her brother reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, can you make a beat for me?" So I ended up making him this beat, and what happened was I usually used to make my beats like real dry and stuff, just like putting the arrangement together and sending it to him. Man, this dude sent me back a song. I didn't even recognize the beat. The engineer sauced it up so much, bro. He put reverb on it, compression, put delay effects. I was like, bro, I've been doing this wrong the whole time. So that was the first beat that I went back to the lab with that same project and tried to recreate exactly how that guy made it sound. And I was like, oh, this is nuts.
Yeah.
And that's when it really was like started to fall in line, putting the effects on the sounds. Mm-hmm. And I sent Julio a problem. I'm like, well, what you think about it? He's like, that's it right there, bruh. He's like, that's it right there. And that was really the game changer. At that point, it went from I was just playing around, wanted to work with me and Julio's project. One dude heard I record. I think it was Haji at the time. Haji hit me up and was like, bro, I heard you got a stew. Like I don't know you, but I rap. And bro was nasty. I was like, okay, he dirty with it. I was probably charging like 20 an hour at the time. Mm-hmm. And it turned into like 5 more people. And then that 5 people turned into like 20. And that 20 turned into like 70. And that 70 turned into like almost 200 people today. And I was like, every day I'm booked. Yeah. Every day I'm booked. And I got my day job. And I'm like, bro, it's at a point now where I could quit my job and just live off the studio and be straight. Like, I won't have to compromise with no bills. Yeah. And I never expected that to happen. It was supposed to be like a little internal thing. I'd be his producer. But it ended up taking off. He ended up, like, he's in Miami a lot. Yeah. So we don't really get to work a lot together.
Who had you?
Julio.
Okay.
We started off really together on this, but he's traveled a lot.
He's more doing stuff over there.
Right. And so we just, I seen him yesterday. We always connect and deal, say what's up, how our dealings. We always, the love always there. It's just, again, when you get to a certain point, like he did, and he just was like, I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. I'm at the same. Like, I have an office, I can't travel with them like I want to. Yeah. But we always connect. It's always love, man. But that's really how it all started. It was him saying, "Yeah, bro, it sounds good now." Yeah.
No, it started with him saying it was trash.
Exactly. That's right.
It started with the failure. Or failure. Even you getting that beat back,
right?
And seeing how it's supposed to be done,
for real,
laid down the foundation for you, and I respect that. It's just you need to try things and fail. Mm-hmm. Failure is the biggest part. You see it in all the greats. Yeah, we know the stories of Michael Jordan and how he didn't make his high school varsity team, right? At first, so it's a great thing, man, for sure. Mm-hmm. I wrote down a few favorite songs from that album you just dropped. Is it an album?
Yeah, it's a tape. Yeah.
Okay. Album. Case Dismissed was hard.
Appreciate that.
That's one of my favorites there. And then he was Logic. Mm-hmm. Trying to be great. And then Run Around. But I think the favorite one for me was "It's a Shame," with what you did there with the Destiny Child sample with that one.
Yeah, word.
Yeah, with like what went? I want to know what happened with "It's a Shame" and how'd you got that idea to do that.
I don't know, man. I just heard the beat and was like, I like just started humming it.
Yeah.
And I just was singing the original, and I was like, man, this would probably be hard on this sample right here. So that was really how it came. I didn't even really put much thought into it. It just came. And then one of my homeboys was like, bruh, I know that song. And I was like, yeah, that's an old school throwback. But I think that I heard other artists doing it, like taking like flows from old schools and incorporate. I'm like, I think that's a cool idea.
I don't think I've heard any rapper do that. Like you know what I'm saying? To Destiny Child.
Right.
Simple Destiny Child in that way. That's dope, man. That's dope. We're coming up on time.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I touched on everything with you, because I don't want to get out of here and I didn't ask you a very important question.
All good. I just want to say, in terms of your favorites, it seems like everybody got the same favorites almost. Right. It's like Case Dismissed and
I mean, I know Runaround is doing like crazy.
That one hit the playlist.
Yeah.
And that one's spinning constantly.
Yeah.
But I noticed that a lot of my clients, a lot of my clients, but a lot of my fans also, they appreciated the rap side of it a lot more than like the melodic side. And I wanted to test that ground because I wanted to see what the next tape should sound like. And I know the next tape is going to be more like rap oriented.
I think the melodies balanced it out very well. It balanced out that it just gave you that breather. And I think it allowed you to think, and just the melody. You sang a lot of things in a lot of these songs, but I think the melodies allows you to it mellows things out so that you can focus on the next track.
Right.
I think bar after bar after bar, you might get a little crazy, but I think the melodies balance it out. I wouldn't say you have a bad song on that album. No, I just think the melodies balance it out, brings it all together.
That's what's up. Well, that's good to hear from just like from a listener's perspective. Because sometimes I try to listen as a listener, but you can never listen to your own songs as a listener, But I appreciate that feedback for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed I just enjoy storytelling. So those tapes were some of my favorites. I know you've done storytelling before, like Taji's Reflex.
Yeah,
like that was like a big storytelling song for you. When you make music like that, is it always in your perspective? And you talk about this, you have different names and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Are those people's stories you telling?
Yeah. And shout out Von Sean too, Sir Cunningham LaFleur. He was on that song, Taj's Reflex too. And that song just got created like off like some spur of the moment, impulsive type behavior. And it came out like so articulated in a way where the whole story went together. Like his part was he killed Taj. You know, like a lot of people missed that. But the first thing he said was, let me tell you about the greatest pain I've ever felt. And that was from the result of the murder. And like a lot of these stories are from like they're inspired by true events, either my friends, homeboys, and a lot of like the real like off the wall stories usually come from the news. But I mean, we've all had homeboys that got killed in the streets, been locked up, I got homeboys right now doing 25 years that I know I'm not going to see again. And it's like you lose that contact after a while just because there's certain things that you go through and you just can't maintain that relationship as much as you want to.
Right.
It's never about like, oh, I got money on the phone. It's just like, man, this guy calling me and I'm working, or he calling me, I'm in a session. I work like 14 hours a day and it's hard to try to, and it's just those struggles. I'm like, man, since I can't talk to you every day, I want to let you know I'm thinking about you.
Yeah.
Like, like I got a couple homies, one specifically named Jeffrey. I got a song for him I never released, and his story is just crazy, bro. Like he had a lot that he was going through, and he just in and out of prison constantly, man. And he looking at, I think he getting out in 2024. But I always told him like whenever he get out, man, I'm gonna make sure he taken care of, whatever I can do. And but yeah, man, that's just they're all really just real situations. I changed names on things because I just obviously but yeah, definitely all like just life related.
Yeah. No, I mean I had to just touch on that, man, because I'll be honest, I did not know the artist side of you.
Right.
And when once I discovered that this week, it was like you put a lot of time into everything you do, man, because you're not just basic at all these things. You're doing what you wanted to do as a producer, or you're doing it like I think many producers want to be doing it right now.
Right.
You're doing it big as an artist, and you're doing it huge as an app developer too. So I don't want any misnomers. Is it app developer?
I really don't build apps anymore. Okay. I used to. I mean, that was something I do for fun on the side, coding. Like, I'm a software engineer by trade, but I do build. I write on the side. But my main focus right now has like evolved into like fully being Raxx Beats. Like, I believe that's where the future is gonna take me. Okay. And I think that I like my main thing is really just inspiring other people to, realize you don't have to cuss in your raps to get a point across. You don't have to do certain things because everybody else doing it. And my thing is also like I want to try to help as many people as I can with just being able to get a part of what's going on in the industry without having to take a deal. Like, sometimes you don't need a deal, and that's what I want to kind of show people is like, look, like if you dedicate your time to something, and I want to help however I can, bro. And that's just the part of like giving is like charity. I might not be able to give you $100, but I might show you how to make $100 so you could do it for yourself over and over again. But yeah.
Yeah, that's real, man. That's deep, and you're so anonymous at the same time too.
Yeah.
Like I would not have recognized you today because pictures you still got on Instagram, man. Your dreads are like way shorter.
Yeah.
I don't think you've posted anything in years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's just a sign of a man that's working, man. So
appreciate that.
All in all, I respect you, man. So it's a pleasure to meeting you. I'm gonna end it all like this. If you got anything to say, I know you said there's another project coming. What else can we expect from you after all this? So
I'm working on 2 different projects. One is like mainly something I'm focusing on a lot, but these 2 projects they're gonna be storytelling, and they're all gonna be specifically about specific people. Obviously names are gonna be withheld for certain reasons, but every song gonna be just like it's gonna be formulated in a way. Well, there's one tape I'm working on. I'll give you this, and then the other one I'll let it be a surprise. But the first one is gonna be essentially I don't know if you've read the book called by C.S Lewis, Screwtape Letters.
No.
Well, this is an older book, and C.S Lewis is the guy that wrote Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. He spent the majority of his life being an atheist. And he ended up finding God like towards the end of, and a lot of people don't know the lion in Chronicles of Narnia is representative of Jesus. A lot of people don't know that. But anyway, the long story short is that book, Screwtape Letters, is a book about a demon talking to his nephew about the ways that Satan is deceiving the world. And it's so subtle. Like, and if you ever read the Bible in Genesis, as a beast, the serpent is the most subtle beast of the land. Like, people think like, like you ever see like, it's just like really about like, man, you be surprised the type of ways that you could get misled. And you just like, you think that you're doing the right thing, but you're really not. And the tape is going to pretty much be like the lost screw tapes. And it's going to be, every song is going to be someone's name. And then in parentheses right next to their name is going to be like their vice. Like it'll say like, Tommy in parentheses, robbery, Lisa in parentheses, promiscuity. And it's gonna be like their whole story, and every song gonna just be a different story. And like the whole goal of this music is like, I want to encourage it. I want to encourage the sin that they're doing because I want people to see how stupid it sounds. It's like, oh yeah, I know, like I got daddy issues, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna sleep with every guy that I could find and then get, HIV and still be okay with it. And like I want people to hear that and be like, oh yeah, like this sounds stupid.
Pretty much is playing the deceptive
exactly role. Exactly. Okay. And just like putting the common sense obvious in the middle of it. So you're pretty
much the demon in that book as the storyteller.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's like, but I think more or less, it's gonna be like that. And I think that the hooks are probably gonna be more of like the conscious side. Like the hook is bringing it back to like, yo man, like this clearly don't make no sense, but you still going down this path.
Gotcha.
And I want every song to sound the same in that respect, just have that uniformed transition from one song, like, oh, we know what to expect, like this is gonna be another story. So, but we'll see how it goes, crazy. Man. It's taking me longer than I expected to work on. It just, every song is just like an entire project on its own. Definitely. And I think that anything that is worth having takes time. So
it's not an easy path being the kind of artist that wants to influence change. It's not an easy path. I mean, it's easier to do things it's easier to do things the way everybody else do them.
Exactly.
So
it's true.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're gonna end it like this.
Yo,
man.
I appreciate everything, man. I appreciate the time.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming through, man. I appreciate you coming through. I've heard about you being a genuine enough person, but I know you're busy too. You're a busy guy. So
right.
You know,
I actually clear my schedule today for this. I sometimes, like, you know, I just went on the site and clear from like 5 to 7 just to make sure that there was no hiccups, because I know how it is when people play on my time and they cancel 4-hour sessions. It's like, nah, man. So
no, I'm humbled, man. I'm humbled to have interviewed you. Is this your first interview? Have you had other
it's first official interview. I usually don't like being too much in the, you know, in the front and center, but you know, it definitely is, and it seemed to be successful. I appreciate the time that y'all put into it. Those questions seem to be very you know, well thought out. So
I don't usually write them down, but I could go so many places with, because usually they'll tell you I have just straight up conversations with people, right? And I could go all day, but you have such a large resume, you know. Trust me, I could talk to you all day, and the questions I want to ask will probably have us here forever, just seeing how you articulate things and how long you can go.
Appreciate that.
So we'll definitely catch on again, man.
For sure, man. That'd be cool.
All right.
We are CiiiTY.